Alright, this video is about the lunar cycle, why the appearance of the moon changes, how it does so, how long these changes take, the lunar cycle. We started in class looking at this picture of the Beatles. Now as you notice, the left side of all the Beatles' faces are lit up. Okay, all of them have a face that is lit up on the left and dark on the right, and we connected that to the lunar cycle. Now, if you were the photographer, think about where you would be standing, where the Beatles would be standing, and where the source of light would be. Okay? The light would be here on the left, and you as the photographer are taking a picture of their faces. Now, if we connect that to the lunar cycle, which moon phase best represents the picture of the Beatles? If you said third quarter, you're correct. They are lit half and half, lit up on the left, just like the third quarter moon phase. So we'll come back to that later. Okay, first the basics. The moon orbits the Earth. It does so in 29.5 days. In other words, this is approximately 1 month, and that is where our idea of a month comes from, the cycle of the moon. Half of the moon is always lit by the sun. We'll come back to that later. The reason the appearance of the moon changes is because as it orbits, our view of the lit half changes. These different changes in appearance are known as the moon phases. We're going to recognize 8 different moon phases. Okay, in the course of a month, these are the basic changes in the moon's appearance. This is February of this year. As I record this video, it is February 20th. This puts us in a waxing gibbous moon phase. And as you look from here on out, the moon is growing in appearance. It is growing up until the point where it can grow no further. That makes a full moon. After that, it starts to shrink. So you notice that sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller, sometimes it's lit on the left side, sometimes it's lit on the right side. Now let's talk about why. Okay, I mentioned earlier that only half of the moon is lit up by the sun at all times. If you look, the moon here on the right is shaded in white. On the left, it's black. The side of the moon that is facing the sun is the side that's reflecting light. The sun can only shine on half of the moon, just like the sun can only shine on half of the earth, causing day and night. Now, as the moon orbits, it's always the same half that's reflecting light. The difference is sometimes we can see more of that lit half, sometimes we can see less. What I'm showing here with the green shading is our view, basically our vision from the planet Earth. Here, when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, our vision does not allow us to see any of the lit half. The lit half is facing away from us. At this time, we can't see the moon. But as it orbits, our view of the lit half begins to increase. Here, as we look at the moon, you can notice that there's a little overlap here in the middle. Some of the lit half is coming into view, so we can see a tiny little slice of the moon, and as we look, that tiny slice of the moon would be lit up on the right side. So we would see a little piece of the moon on the right. As it continues to orbit, the lit half comes more into view. Here, you can see from the point of view of the Earth that we're seeing more of the moon, and as it orbits, we will gradually see more and more. Here, we're seeing even more, but not the whole circle yet. That happens over here. Now here, in this position, when the moon is on the opposite side of the sun, you'll notice that this overlap is perfect. We can see the entire lit half of the moon. Okay, the sun is shining from the right, we are viewing it from the right. Our view of the lit half is a total left to right circle. Okay, from that point on, our view of that lit half will begin to decrease. Okay, as we look at it now, it's not full anymore. We would see it mostly lit up on the left side, but it is starting to shrink. The moon is starting to decrease. So, putting it further together, as I was going around and moving the moon around, moving our view around, we can look at it a couple of ways. The inner ring here is where the moon actually is. Now I still have my green shading, okay, so here was where we started, where we couldn't see any of the lit portion of the moon. Now we're bringing in the actual appearance and the name of the phases. Alright, starting here at the new moon. Again, the lit portion is facing away. There's no moon to see. So the new moon you can think of as no moon. There's nothing to see. The lit portion is facing away from us. It's as if the moon is hiding. As we start to orbit, we're going to orbit counterclockwise. As the moon starts to come into view, it'll be lit up on the right side, starting with that little sliver on the right. That's called the waxing crescent. Furthermore, this is a half and half appearance of the moon. That's the first quarter. You'll notice as we go this way, the moon is growing and growing and growing, and also it is lit up on the right side. When the moon is lit up on the right, it's growing. We call that the waxing portion of the moon. Every night, it'll grow a little bit bigger before it gets to the full moon. So, from the first quarter, it grows to kind of an egg shape. That egg shape is known as the gibbous moon. This is the waxing gibbous moon. It gets to the point where it grows from, we get the full circle image of the moon. This is the full moon, and at that point it begins to shrink. As it shrinks, it is going to be lit up on the left side as we view it. So left side, left side, left side. It is shrinking, and then the phases basically go in backwards order. From the full moon, it shrinks down to the egg shape. That's the waning gibbous. It shrinks down further to the half and half appearance. That's the third quarter. And then it shrinks down to it's a banana shape. That's called the waning crescent. Okay? Now, we need to understand how long this cycle takes, and we need to be able to make predictions. So let's start over. Earlier we said the cycle of the moon takes 29.5 days. Now, for the sake of easy math, I'm instead going to call it 28. Okay? If we call it 28, we can divide the cycle into 4 sections. 28 divided by 4 is 7 days. So to go from here to here takes 7 days. From here to here, 7 days. 7 days and 7 days. 7 days is 1 week. So basically, if today's a new moon, 1 week from now, it's a first quarter. If today's a new moon, 2 weeks from now, it's the full moon. Okay? To go from one phase to the next, half of 7 is about 3.5 days. So to go from one recognized phase to the next takes about 3 or 4 days. We need to understand the order of the lunar cycle. We need to understand the number of days in between in order to make predictions. Okay, a couple of the words that we've been using. Waxing means to grow larger. Here, we're going from the waxing crescent to the first or waxing quarter to the waxing gibbous. Remember that when it is waxing, it is lit up on the right side and it is growing larger. Okay, waning means it's becoming smaller or shrinking. When it's shrinking, it is lit up on the left side. If the moon is lit up on the left, that means from night to night it'll be shrinking. Okay? And then just recognize the shapes we've been using. The egg shape we call the gibbous moon. It could be waxing or waning. The banana shape we called the crescent moon. Okay? Crescent, it could be waxing or waning. And then the half and half, that was called your quarter moon. You can have a first quarter moon or a third quarter moon. The third quarter moon sometimes is called the last quarter. I guess it could be called a waning quarter, just like the first quarter could be called a waxing quarter. And I think that covers it.